Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our November PTSA meeting. It's hard to believe we're already in November and Thanksgiving is next week. So I know everybody's looking forward to that. So we moved this meeting up a week. So so this meeting didn't occur during Thanksgiving week. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have some guest speakers this evening, and we're very pleased to have them join us to talk about social media and cybersecurity and youth social media and the effects on youth mental health, and talking about how we keep our kids safe using social media. So we have Taisha Short from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Surgeon General's office, and we have Robert Humbertson from the National Archives and Records Administration. We're very pleased to have our guests this evening. Before we move to our presentation, we have a few things that we want to share with you. And so we'll move on to the next slide. So we are already planning our December PTSA meeting, and this is an annual event where we invite our alumni back who are home during winter break. And I say back, but it'll be virtual. So virtually back to join us online for a great alumni event. And they're going to share their experience during this fall semester and how they, how things went, what they think about their schools, answer questions. So we encourage parents and students to join this meeting. We hope, we hope you can bring your student and join. It's very interesting meeting, great to talk with the students, great opportunity to ask questions. They'll talk about how they decided on their schools and how things are going for the semester and how they chose their majors or working on choosing their majors and so forth. So it's a really great night. So it'll be 7 p.m. on December 19th, the third Tuesday in December. Our fall festival, we had that last month. We talked about it a little bit last month as well. It was a very rainy day. We were able to move it indoors and still had a really great event. We didn't have as great of a turnout as we would have having it outside, but it was a nice turnout. We had great performances by quite a number of Wooten performing arts groups. It was just a great afternoon. So we did do the counting for the fall festival. We brought in just over $800 in ticket sales, so we use wristbands. And so we had two classes, the 10th grade class, the sophomores and the seniors, who set up games. And so we provided a portion of the proceeds back to them for their classes. The seniors received $300 and the sophomores received $200, plus we covered $100 in their expenses that they paid to buy the supplies. So $300 for each of them. And then we do cover the expenses for this event. We aim to break even. We had good amount of funding in the budget, and our expenses are not going to be as high as we had estimated. So overall, great event and great to be able to support our classes, our Wooten classes. Moving on to the CIP hearing update. So those that don't know, the CIP stands for the Capital Improvement Program. Montgomery County Public Schools has two budgets. One is the Capital Improvement Program, which is the facilities-based budget, facilities and connected things that relate to facilities. And then there's the operating budget that covers staff and faculty salaries and supplies and things like that. So this was the CIP hearing. It was before the Board of Education. And each year, as we've been waiting for our renovation, we've been working with our students to get our students to testify. And to bring as much of our community out to the hearing room to show the board how important it is that we get our school renovated. And this was also for the Wooten cluster. So there are schools within our cluster that also need renovation. And so we're there supporting all of our Wooten cluster schools. We had two great nights of testimony. Wooten showed up in force both nights. The first night, the Wooten cluster was the Wooten cluster testimony. We had two students testify and two parents testify as well. It was just a great evening. We had quite a few people sitting in the hearing room, and we got some really good responses back from the Board of Education members as they have a chance to ask questions, and especially the student member of the board was very engaged and had a lot of questions about Wooten's renovation. And I know our SGA students have been working closely with the student member of the board, so they're doing a great job. The second night, we had an even greater turnout. SGA and others came out. We had 15 students testify. They did a great job coordinating testimony. This time we made sure that they stayed away from any sort of maintenance type issues and focused more on facilities issues. And they covered different parts of the building. So we had some athletes and we had some students that were in the performing arts program. They all did such a fantastic job delivering their testimony. They were very passionate about it. And we had a really large crowd in the hearing room and made a pretty significant impact on the board. And we've been doing that for several years. And our goal is to keep Wooten's renovation on track for 2027. Start date to be completed as of now in 2029. In the past, Wooten's renovation or major capital project has gotten pushed. We're trying to prevent that from happening again. It's happened over and over again. So we're really working hard to prevent that from happening. And that's why we continue to advocate. Due to our great advocacy, we were able to get an appropriation of $15 million from the Montgomery County Council to do some pre-work prior to the renovation in 2027. There was a summer meeting in July. And at that summer meeting, the MCPS and the design, the architectural company heard some pretty powerful discussion from the community and realized that there really was a lot of work that needed to get done inside the building. The $15 million I didn't mention was for site improvements, including ADA and safety with the front driveway. So they are repurposing the funds to do some things inside the building. They have not yet shared what they're going to do. We were able to get them to let us know when they were going to be coming back. And they said, they told us that in December that they would be back, looking at and meeting with the community very soon to figure out what things are going to work on within the building prior to the renovation that is due now to be in 2027. So that is the latest. More to come as we get further information, and when there is any community meetings, we'll make sure that our entire community is aware of them. So you can come out and you can hear what the plans are and ask questions. And if anyone has any thoughts or questions at any time, feel free to reach out to me at the PTSA president email address that you can find at wootenptsa.org. And we'll move on to the next slide. So we do have an upcoming restaurant night, and this one is to support PTSA. In the past, we've had restaurant nights to support some of our athletics teams and different departments, but this one is to support PTSA. So it's going to be at Falls Grove. It's with the multiple restaurants that you see listed there. So we hope you take the opportunity to get dinner out that evening and help support PTSA as we give back, the funds back to the school, either through grants for students and teachers or buying supplies, equipment, or other things. So we're here to support the school, and raising money helps us do that. So thank you very much for your support, and we'll move on to the next slide and to Nikki.
Hi, everybody. So Catherine is the membership chair this year. She is traveling, and since I was the membership chair from last year all the way back through 2017, I told her I would take over the slide for her tonight, since I'm here tonight to talk about the holiday program next. So a quick membership update. So the directories are going to be printed soon. We just got the proof back. from A to Z. And for anyone who purchased a directory, those are going to be delivered to your child's fourth period teacher. If for some reason that does not work for you, just send an email to the membership chair address, which you can find on our website. We can always make arrangements. I know occasionally we have a child who might be attending virtually, or maybe they leave early. There, there's always a weird circumstance that might occur. You can always get with us and we can make arrangements. But the general rule of thumb is if you purchase one, it will go to your child's fourth period teacher. And for anyone who might be a little confused about that line for those that purchased one, I know in years past, directories were always free. They always came with your membership. And just a little history of that, when I came on as membership chair in 2017, directories were provided free to the PTSA. They were even mailed to our members for free. And over time, those benefits kind of started to erode from, the shipping wasn't free to, the printing wasn't free to now we're having to pay $5 per directory to have them printed. And so that's kind of why the cost was added this year. And but as always, even if you choose not to have one, to pay for one to be printed, you always have access as a member to the digital directory, which you can access through A to Z. In our newsletter, there is always a link to the app that you can use, and it's actually really easy to use to find the information that you need. So if you ever have trouble accessing that, you can always send an email to Catherine as well and get assistance with the directory. Catherine also recently sent out an email to the 10 lucky winners of the t-shirt drawing. So make sure you check your email to get notified about that if you're one of the winners. And I'm sure she'll be following up with anyone who hasn't responded to her. And then last, just a quick look at membership over the last few years. As you can see, we've been fairly steady over the years. This year down a little bit from last year. This year's goal is 1,100 memberships in total, and that includes parents, faculty, and students. So it would be nice, I would think, to at least get to the last year's number, up to the 1,079, and to really get that parent membership up, which is down this year. So if you haven't had a chance to purchase a membership yet, you can find all that information out at our website, WootenPTSA.org. And, I'll stick around for a minute after the holiday. If anyone has a question about membership, feel free to put it in the chat, and I'm happy to help with that too. Okay, so the real reason that I'm here tonight with Jen Eisenfeld, who is also here. I know we talked to everyone last month, but we are in the thick of the Holiday Helping Hands program, and we've had a lot of amazing support from our Wooten parents already. But we wanted to give a shout out and give some more information about how the program works and what it looks like to help us. So the main ways that you can help are, number one, you can buy a gift from the Amazon and Target registries that Jen put together. Jen puts those together based on forms that she receives from the parents that are given to the counselors and then given to us. So those items are crafted based on, requests from the families. But if you don't feel like shopping, or if that seems a little too overwhelming, or you're not sure which child to choose to shop for, you can also donate money and we will shop for you. You can do that through a variety of ways: Venmo, PayPal, Zelle. If those don't work for you, you can always send an email to our email address and we will find a way. If you'd rather write a check or something, send us an email. We will find a way to make that work. You can also buy a grocery store gift card. Our goal is to give each family $250 for, either a Giant, Safeway, or Harris Teeter grocery store gift card. So that's always an option as well. And so all of this information is at our website, WootenPTSA.org/holiday. If you just go to WootenPTSA.org, at the top, you'll see there's a link to all of the holiday pages. And our email address is up there too, holiday@tswootenhs.org. That's also on the website. Always, for sure, ask us any questions. We can move to the next slide. Yep. Okay, so this slide is just showing you, when you go to our website, WootenPTSA.org/holiday, this is what you're going to see on the front page. So you're going to see these 4 links, and you're going to see the link to purchase gift for a child. That's going to take you to all the registries, and it's going to show you also a little legend that shows you which families go to which schools. So it'll show you by school which families you're looking for in case you're looking to shop for a particular family from a particular school. It'll take you to the link to donate either a store gift card or grocery store gift card, because in addition to purchasing from an Amazon or Target registry, you can, if you don't want to donate cash, you can send us electronically a gift card to Amazon or to Target, or drop one off to Jen's house. And as I mentioned before, you can donate cash and we'll shop for you. And there are links. We have links up there for frequently asked questions. And then if you want to know more about me and Jen, there's also some information there as well. So we can move on. And so if you click one of those links that I just showed you, one of those 4, this is what one of the screens that you're going to see. So if you want to purchase a gift for a child, you're going to see here on the left the registry links. It'll look like this. Obviously, we have 37 families this year, so you have to scroll down. But basically, you'll see the family number, what the schools are that the children attend, and then, depending on the number of children, to keep things anonymous, we always put, child A, B, or C, but we tell you how old they are and their gender, and then a link to their registries. Some kids have just an Amazon, some have Amazon and Target. That was really just based on availability of products and who had better selection. There's really no other reason behind that. So that's for the registry links. And I will note that if you want to buy for more than one child, it is best to check out separately for each child, because there is a registry address that will populate when you go to check out for the shipping. And those addresses are specific. So when these items arrive to Jen's house, it will say family to child A instead of a name. And that helps us to sort the items for gift wrapping. And so that's why you need to check out separately, because if you have more than one child in the cart, it won't know which address to send it to. Things get mixed up. Inevitably, that does happen to us every year, but it does help us a lot to have things, to keep things organized when we have so many kids and so many items, to have that organization. Okay, so moving on to the gift card sign up. So say you clicked on the link to buy, to donate a gift card. So you'll see something like this. It's a Google form, and essentially it'll tell you which families still need one, because as they are purchased, I do remove them from the form so you know which families still need a gift card. And so you'll see the family number, and then you'll see an amount. And so if the amount is less than 250, that means someone else has signed up to purchase for that family, but in a lesser amount. And we will take any amount. So if you want to contribute to family 2, but not the full 250, you can sign up for whatever amount that you are comfortable with. When you go through the Google form, there will be a little spot for you to put how much you're donating. So if you just want to donate $5, $10, whatever you're comfortable with, that is completely fine. And then I will adjust that amount in the Google form so others are aware of what is still needed for that family. And once we have fulfilled that family, it will be removed. And so moving on to the last part, the cash donation instructions. You may not be able to read this on the screen, it's a little small, but this is essentially what you'll see on the website, which are instructions to how to pay via Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle. And also my cell phone number is up there, and I encourage people to message me or to send a message to the email inbox if you want to make sure that we got that donation. I, generally speaking, unless things are crazy, I try really hard to right away email everybody back and say, thank you, we received this. But for sure, if you want to know right away, that's how you can get in touch with me and make sure that we got the money for the program. Okay. So, and then just to wrap up, we've got 37 kids. We've got 37 families with 103 kids this year. This is the most we've ever had. So we need all hands on deck. We have been in touch with all of the principals at all of the cluster schools, all of the PTAs. All of this information has been given to all of them, and they are all, supposed to be helping us getting this out. If you are involved in one of those other PTAs, we always welcome extra help. The more that this gets out, the more likely people are to help. I think people want to help, people get busy, people forget. So We do send a lot of emails, and that's really just as a reminder. But we definitely thank the people that have already helped us to get where we are. But we do still have over 1,800 items that have to be purchased. That sounds like a lot, but a lot of those items are clothing and toiletries. So, if every kid has a pack of socks and every kid has a pack of underwear, and, it adds up quickly, the number of items. And a lot of kids need shampoo and soap and toothbrushes and really basic things. And then, for each of the kids, we try to include a couple of things that they really want. And, we do our best to meet that within limits. But just know that, again, these registries are really crafted with each family's needs in mind, and some families are needier than others, and we do take that into consideration. So if you're wondering why one child might have more items than another, just know that that is very purposeful and not because we are favoring one child over another. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Jen for just a second for any last remarks that she wants to make.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in our program. And we just wanted to let everyone know that all of those 1,800 items need to be purchased by December 8th. Because we are actually starting the wrapping process on the 9th and 10th of December. So we have to have all those items, because then we go through and make sure that each item is accounted for, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Please don't feel like if you just want to spend $5 and get a shirt for a child, that is, not enough. Anything is appreciated. So thank you all for your help.
Yeah, and I'll just say that date is really when we need to receive the items by. Obviously, some things maybe are one day on Amazon sometimes, but the earlier we can get it, the better, because it is a lot of organizing. We do still take the gift cards through the end of the next week, because those are obviously not wrapped and a little easier for us. So sometimes after the gift wrapping ends, you may see an email from us, because we're still trying to collect grocery store gift cards. But until everything is done, you will continue to see emails. And we thank everyone that has already donated. There will be an email going out tomorrow. So in case you want to donate, don't have time to write this down now or look at it now, there will be an email that goes out tomorrow morning. And thank you to everybody. Good night.
Thank you, Nikki and Jen. And now to Jessica.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I'm not nearly as interesting as donating to kids who need, but good evening, everyone. I did want to remind the group that the next Principal's Coffee Shop is scheduled for this Friday at 9 a.m. The email will also be going out tomorrow to ask for any early questions, so please feel free to send them. I put my email address up here as well. And if you submit questions early, those get answered first. And Mr. Nelson has been wonderful with these sessions, so we really appreciate his time and the parents who attend and ask the questions. And with that, I'm going to actually turn it over to Mr. Nelson to do his update.
Thank you, Jessica. It's nice to be with you this evening, everyone. I'm glad you came out for November's meeting. Just a little note before I get into some of the updates that I prepared. I was just saying to ILT this afternoon, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. So as we're about to turn around and get ready for a little time off, I just hope everyone in the Wootton community really enjoys this time of year, has some great food, find some time to connect with friends and family, and just enjoy this time that we have in the month of November, because the holidays are going to be right upon us very soon. So I hope you have a wonderful holiday. So a few updates that I prepared for you this evening. One is pretty brief, but there have been some families who have really connected with us consistently about our school improvement plan. They've asked questions, they've engaged with staff, and I just wanted to share with everyone that the summary of our 4 goals for our school improvement plan now exists on the Wootton website. So if you would like to take a look at that and see where we have focused our improvement efforts this year, it really has a big impact in our school in so many ways. So to have that information and a little understanding about where we set our goals is important for everybody. But I do know for some of you, this is definitely something you've been waiting for. So I wanted to share that that is now available to you all. Touching on some recent successes and some good news to share. If anybody made it to the fall play this past week and weekend, Radium Girls, it was really wonderful. The set was stunning. And that play, I had known some history about the Radium Girls, but I've never seen this particular play performed. And I thought that the students did such a wonderful job putting that play on the stage. So I hope some of you made it out and were as entertained as I was. And we've had a lot of athletic successes. We've had many county championships, and we've seen many of our sports teams advance into playoffs, and some of them all the way to the states. Cross country and volleyball, football went to the playoffs for the first time. So field hockey, I got to travel and see them compete, and they went very far this year. So we have some great successes to celebrate as we begin to wrap up the fall sports season, and very soon winter sports will be upon us. So we're getting ready for another great season. A note on parent conferences: the 2 early release days that happen on that short week going into the Thanksgiving holiday, they exist to support schools in having parent conferences. And I just wanted to give a heads up to some parents that we will have some teachers. We want to make this very intentional. So we're really setting up a process in which we're asking teachers to either take a look at some attendance data or places where students could improve academically. And they're doing some outreach specifically to connect with parents. And so instead of sitting down to what feels like a very formal conference where there may be 5 or 6 teachers present, we're asking our staff to actually find some single points of contact, and where a math teacher might be reaching out, or someone may be reaching out to say where attendance could get a little bit better. And we hope that this process is a really nice touch point and a way to get some more of those touches out to the Wootton community. So I just wanted to let you all know the details are really owned by the staff, and we have reviewed those and put those out. But if you hear from a Wootton staff member, this would be the reason why. And so we hope that you will take that request to have a conversation with us and make that connection with the school. Bullet point number 4, this is an important one. And I also, if anyone here this evening is thinking about joining for Friday's coffee chat, this is a topic that we generally come back to in that space as well. So this is our response to hate bias incidences. And so there have been times where we have had to respond to those at the school, including some recent issues just last week. And so I just want to make sure everybody is reassured of certain things that we're going to do every single time at the school. And I also want to paint a picture of where we're going to go with our focus of education and how we're responding to this. So if there is an incident in which we have hate bias, please know that's always investigated when it is reported to us. And so we're going to look at each of those specifically based on what we can identify, whether it's reviewing cameras, we speak to witnesses, we take a look at the information that is shared with us, and then there are guidelines that we follow each time. And so that happened with all of the instances that have happened most recently. Unlike last year, where we really were not able to identify some of the some of the students that were responsible for drawing something like a hate symbol. This year we have identified some students, and then we're going to work with them, and we're going to not only educate, but apply appropriate consequences according to the student code of conduct. And I just want everyone to know that we're very consistent in the way that we look into that matter, and then that will continue to happen for us at the school. On a second note, I think it's important to come back to what is the approach and how are we continuing to work with all students and responding and making sure that we educate in this space so that our students are getting a consistent message of where we're going. There's one that's happening very soon, and this was in the most recent community update. So we're going to focus on a no place for hate and culture of respect. And the culture of respect comes first. And in that training, students are very clearly told certain things that if they happen, it explains how you report and the importance of reporting so that then adults can work and support students and look into a matter. An example of this is how to respond to hate bias or how to respond to an instance of bullying. So we're doing that very, very soon. And the next step after that will be a focus on No Place for Hate, which is an ADL initiative that gets information out to the whole school community. And we have some of our first actions that we're taking in December as we implement this initiative. So a good reminder is we're coming back to two tangible steps that I really think are going to make sure students know there is a plan that is working against and helping to prevent things like this from happening in the future. And my final update, AP Honor Roll came out this week. And as a principal, when I saw the list of students, I immediately, I think many of us went to look at that list to see where is Wootton on the list. And I was very surprised we were not there. It was very soon after that came out, I started to receive questions from community members and staff members, and their question was just like mine: how can we not be on this list? So APs, of course, we have a very significant number of our students that take a number of AP courses. They sit for tests, they work diligently to get ready for them. We have great results. And so how could we not be there? So we followed up with the college board to ask that question. And very soon after we got our question to that organization, they responded back to us and let us know that we do have the platinum level designation. So we didn't get much more information than we have the designation, which is reassuring. I wish I had a little more information to share with you about why we just weren't a part of that initial list. But I am happy to know we do in fact have that designation. So I was able to then follow up with MCPS, and the information that has gone out in their announcement has been updated to reflect that our school is in that top level designation. And that brings me, and I'm sure many of you, a lot of pride. So I just wanted to let you know, we do have that designation, and it's good news for us. So that takes care of my updates for this evening, and I will throw it back to Brian.
Thank you, Doug. All right. So now that we've completed our PTSA updates, we're going to move on to our special presentations for this evening. So our first speaker is Taisha Short. She's going to be talking about social media and youth mental health. And it's my pleasure to welcome her to our meeting this evening. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then I'll turn it over to her. So Taisha Short is an Associate Director for Science and Policy in the Office of the Surgeon General at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. In this role, she provides strategic counsel and leadership for ensuring the evidence base for the Surgeon General's priority areas, with a particular focus on youth mental health. This includes leading and supporting scientific documents, building strategic partnerships, and translating reliable scientific information into product and policy development. Taisha has worked in local and national public health and is committed to advancing equitable, evidence-based health policy and programming, with an emphasis on maternal and child health. Prior to joining OSG, the Office of the Surgeon General, Taisha served as a health science fellow within the National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental Disabilities at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, where she led and conducted research to prevent and identify causes of birth defects. She has also worked in the nonprofit sector, evaluating teen pregnancy and STI prevention programs and advocating for more equitable reproductive health care. Taisha received her Master's of Public Health from Emory University and her Bachelor's of Science in Public Health from the University of South Carolina in Columbia. And now I turn it over to Taisha. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much, Brian. And I just want to ensure that everyone is able to hear me. So just a quick thumbs up would be great to ensure the audio quality is great. Okay. And seeing that, I just want to thank you so much, Brian, and good evening, everyone. It really is a pleasure to join you all today. I want to extend gratitude to Brian for the invitation, as well as for all of you. I know this presentation isn't the only item on the agenda, but I just really appreciate your time and being present with me throughout. So today I'll be providing an overview of one of our office's recent advisories that focuses on the impact of social media on youth mental health and well-being. Next slide. But before I dive in, I'm going to quickly share more about our office for those of you who may be unfamiliar and why we release these written products. So the mission of the Office of the Surgeon General is to protect, promote, and advance the health and safety of our nation. And we aim to help everyone understand important public health issues and how we can all work together to take action. And we do this through various mechanisms, such as public engagements and events, our podcast, house calls, as well as written products such as Surgeon General Advisory. Next slide, please. So a Surgeon General's advisory is a public statement that calls the American people's attention to an urgent public health issue and provides recommendations for how it should be addressed. Next slide, please. And as many of you may know, in late 2021, our office released the first advisory on youth mental health. And before and after its release, the Surgeon General and members of our staff traveled extensively throughout the country to meet with organizations that work on mental health on the day-to-day and to hear directly from practitioners, researchers, parents, and young people themselves. And increasingly, we heard the topic of social media come up, and they all expressed a desire for help. So in May of this year, our office released an advisory on social media and youth mental health, which calls attention to the growing concerns about the effects of social media on youth mental health. It explores and describes the positive and negative impacts on children and adolescents, the primary areas for mental health and well-being concerns, as well as opportunities for additional research to help understand the full scope and scale of the impact. It also offers actionable recommendations, and this is for institutions that can shape online environments, for example, policymakers and technology companies, as well as actions and tips for parents and caregivers, young people, and researchers. Next slide, please. Before I dive into what the advisory says, I just want to take a quick moment to put young people's social media use habits into perspective. So we know that social media use by young people is nearly universal. Up to 95% of teenagers aged 13 to 17 report using at least one social media platform. 2/3 of teenagers aged 13 to 18 report using social media every single day, and more than 1/3 of teenagers aged 13 to 17 report using social media almost constantly. A 2021 survey of teenagers found that on average, they spend about 3.5 hours a day on social media, with 1 in 4 spending 5 or more hours per day, and 1 in 7 spending 7 or more hours per day. And then lastly, I just want to point out that although age 13 is the commonly required minimum age used by social media platforms in the US, nearly 40% of children ages 8 through 12 years old use social media. So these statistics really just provide a snapshot of just how widespread social media use is among children and adolescents. Next slide, please. So I'm going to dive into some of the positive and negative impacts. Next slide, please. So we know that the influence of social media on youth mental health is shaped by many complex factors, including but not limited to the amount of time children spend on platforms, the type of content they consume, or are otherwise exposed to, the activities and interactions that social media does afford them, as well as the degree to which it disrupts activities that are essential for health, like sleep and physical activity. It's also important to note that different children and adolescents are affected by social media in different ways. This can be based on their individual strengths and vulnerabilities, as well as cultural, historical, and socioeconomic factors. Another important factor to consider when assessing the risk of harm is brain development. We know that adolescence is a period when risk-taking behaviors reach their peak, when well-being experiences the greatest fluctuations, and when mental health challenges such as depression typically emerge in young people. It's also important to note that in early adolescence, when identities and sense of self-worth are forming, brain development is especially susceptible to social pressures, peer opinions, and peer comparison. Research also shows that frequent social media use may be associated with distinct changes in the developing brain and could increase sensitivity to social rewards and punishment. So this all just goes to show this is a very highly sensitive period for young people, and that this could make them vulnerable to potential harm from social media use. Next slide, please. So again, social media can provide benefits for young people, such as by serving as a source of connection and information and support with others who share identities, abilities, and interests. And a recent survey showed that a majority of adolescents report that social media helps them feel more accepted, like they have people they can support that can support them through tough times, like they have a place to show their creative side and helps them feel more connected to what's going on in their friends' lives. And research shows that the buffering effects against stress that online social support from peers may provide can be especially important for youth who are often marginalized, including racial, ethnic, and sexual and gender minorities. Just one example I'd like to highlight is a survey found that 7 out of 10 adolescent girls of color reported encountering positive or identity affirming content related to race across social media platforms at least monthly. And in addition to this, research suggests that social media-based and other digitally based mental health interventions may also be helpful for some children and adolescents by promoting help-seeking behaviors and serving as a gateway to initiate mental health care. Next slide, please. So the advisory also dives into some of the potential harms, and social media, as we know it, has been linked to concerning mental health outcomes. For example, adolescents who spend more than 3 hours per day on social media may face double the risk of experiencing poor mental health outcomes, such as symptoms of depression and anxiety. And just as a reminder, as I mentioned earlier, on average, teenagers are spending about 3.5 hours a day on social media, and some upwards of 7 or more hours, which is really concerning. And we also know that studies have shown that greater social media use may predict poor sleep, online harassment, poor body image, low self-esteem, and higher depressive symptom scores. And what we're also understanding is that parents, such as you all, many of you on this call, are also worried about potential harms. In a survey, a majority of parents of adolescents said that they are somewhat very or extremely worried that their child's use of social media could lead to problems with anxiety or depression, lower self-esteem, being harassed or bullied online, and feeling pressure to act in a certain way. Next slide, please. So given all of this, we were really interested in understanding what are some of the drivers for the concerns related to social media use and youth mental health. And so scientific evidence suggests that harmful content exposure, as well as excessive and problematic social media use, are some of the primary areas for concern. So we know that social media use can be excessive or problematic for some children. And this is not unintentional, as we know that some platforms are often designed to maximize user engagement through tools like push notifications, autoplay, infinite scroll, the algorithms, as well as quantifying and displaying popularity through likes. And this is affirmed with a survey that we found when asked in a survey, about a third or more girls aged 11 through 15 said that they felt addicted to social media. And over half of teenagers say it would be really, really hard to give up social media for them. Studies also have shown a relationship between social media use and poor sleep quality, reduced sleep duration, sleep difficulties, and depression. And on a typical weekday, nearly 1 in 3 adolescents reported using screens, most commonly social media, until midnight or later. We also know that social media can expose children to content that presents risk of harm. We know that about 2/3 of adolescents are often or sometimes exposed to hate-based content. We also know that bullying on social media is linked to depression, and adolescent females and sexual minority youth are more likely to experience cyberbullying, which nearly 75% of adolescents say that social media sites are only doing a fair to poor job of addressing online harassment and cyberbullying. Next slide, please. So the advisory also covers some of the known evidence gaps that exist. Next slide. So we know that despite widespread use of social media among children and adolescents, we do not yet have enough evidence to determine if social media is sufficiently safe for them. We know that there exists critical gaps in our understanding of mental health risks to youth posed by social media. So the advisory offers research questions to help fill some of these gaps, including but not limited to the following: what type of content at what frequency generates most harm, for which users and why, as well as what are the potential pathways through which social media may cause harm or benefit to children and adolescents' mental health and well-being. So we know that there is broad concern that a lack of access to data and lack of transparency have been barriers to understanding the full scope and scale of the impact of social media on young people's experiences on the platform. And while we know more research is needed, we know that there are actions that can be taken now to help support young people in our lives and create safer and healthy online environments. Next slide, please. So this advisory outlines a multifaceted effort to maximize the benefits and reduce the risk of harm posed by social media, with actions taken by groups across the spectrum. Next slide, please. This includes policymakers, technology companies, researchers. Next slide, please. Parents and caregivers, children and adolescents themselves. And I just also want to quickly highlight that we did not include recommendations for schools in the advisory, but through our travels across the country, we've heard and understood that schools are and have been grappling with this issue for quite some time as well. So I've also offered some considerations and actionable steps that can be taken specifically for those working in the schools and looking to support young people. And these slides will be shared hopefully after this presentation as well. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to focus majority of my time on recommendations for parents, but I'd be happy to go into detail with any of the other recommendations that are outlined. So we know that the onus of mitigating the potential harms of social media should not be placed solely on the shoulders of you all as parents and caregivers. But there are critical steps that can be taken to help protect and support children and adolescents against the risk of harm. Some of those actionable steps include creating a family media plan, which is really putting in place agreed upon expectations that help establish healthy technology boundaries. And this includes around social media use. A family plan can help promote open family discussion and rules about media use, including topics such as how to balance screen and online time, content boundaries, and not disclosing personal information. And just one more note that this is not solely for young children. This can also be used for the teenagers that are in your lives. I know many of you have young people that are in high school, and you may have others, but this can be used across the spectrum. You can also create tech-free zones, and we know that since electronics can be potential distractions after bedtime and it can interfere with sleep, you can consider restricting the use of phones, tablets, computers for at least 1 hour before bedtime and throughout the night. You could also consider keeping, family meal times or in-person gatherings device-free. I know that's easier said than done, but this can be a way to foster more social bonds and engage in in-person two-way conversations. One last recommendation that I'll highlight is just teaching children about technology and empowering them to be responsible online participants. You can discuss many of the benefits and risks that I shared today on social media, as well as the importance of, respecting privacy and protecting their personal information online. We also know that one of the most important steps that can be taken is just to have open conversations with your children about, who they're connecting with online, what are their privacy settings on a lot of these platforms, what are their online experiences, the good and the bad, and how they are spending their time online. Are they mostly interacting with people that they know? Are they mostly using it to get, work done or connect with their peers to get work done? Or is it more a social and leisure activity? And then lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't say just empowering and encouraging them to speak out and seek help should they need it. Next slide, please. And next slide, sorry. I also just want to quickly highlight a few resources that can help equip parents, young people, and other stakeholders with information and tools to help navigate social media. I won't go into detail with all, but I just wanted to highlight the American Academy of Pediatrics Center of Excellence on Social Media and Youth Mental Health, which provides trusted information for children, parents, educators, and practitioners on how to help youth navigate social media. And some of the resources that they have on this website includes a Q&A portal that allows the public to submit questions about social media and get their questions answered by experts. They also have a database where you can view previously asked questions and responses. They also have frameworks and resources for cyberbullying and digital citizenship programs, as well as recorded webinars for parents, caregivers, and youth. So with that, next slide, please. With that, I'll to limit this and just say thank you all again for your time and attention and for your commitment to support all of the young people in your lives. And I'll turn it back over to you, Brian. I know I may have went over time. My apologies.
Yeah, no worries, not at all. Thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? All right, then. Well, thank you very much, Taisha, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And thank you for the resources.
Thank you again. Thank you all for your attention and for the invitation to join you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You do. I hope you do the same. Thank you. Our next presenter is Robert Humbertson. Robert has been an IT professional for over 20 years, working with government agencies, Fortune 100 companies, and the video gaming industries. He has served as a subject matter expert in design, engineering, and security on both commercial and closed systems. Robert is currently providing information security services in his current role at NARA. I'm going to turn it over to Robert. Thank you, Robert, for joining us this evening.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for having me. And everybody's pretty much gone through a lot of social media concerns, but one of the things that I do in my career is I'm one of the guys that when things get deleted or people try to hide things or things get lost in crashes and destroyed in fires, I'm one of the guys that finds that information and breathes it back to life. And one thing that could help both students and adults and all of us in general with social media is being aware of what we're actually putting on social media. So one of the things that I like to stress to people are things like that, because you have children and their mothers are going to have worries about them being on social media. Then they're going to want to post updates, and us as fathers, we're going to be like, oh, I don't understand why you need all those little numbers beside your like button. There's plenty of things like that, but it's undeniable that social media has become a part of everyday life. We all know someone that blocks all your phone calls, all your texts, that will only answer if you send them a message on Messenger. Well, why didn't you hit me up on Messenger? People have brought this into life in a way that it's kind of hard to separate people from it. Like the mental health slide showed, there are people that social media is their communication platform. That is how they communicate. That's the only way they know how to communicate anymore. So with situations like that, our children's games, they all use Facebook logins to authenticate. Well, not all of them, but most of them do. Or our online magazine subscriptions, they're all trying to do what's called single sign-on now. So they want you to log in with your Google account or your Facebook account or whatever account you may have. All of our children with Xboxes, all of their Xbox accounts, they sync to Facebook, they sync to Twitter, they sync to all accounts are intertwined, interjoined. And your online presence, your online persona becomes part of every one of those accounts that is joined together. We're a society that wants things to be easy. We live in a world where social media makes life easier. And remove some of the pain points because we don't have to remember 37 passwords, and everybody knows their security training every year. You got to make sure you don't use common words, type the words backwards, make sure you put an ampersand and 13 other foreign characters in your password. It helps to make things easier for us in our day-to-day life. So our social media presence has grown to become part of our known identities. We're not just human beings anymore. We're also the account that's online that everybody sees, the face that everybody sees when we're happy or we're on vacation. And that has genuinely been forged into our personas. So this has created a situation where we need to be mindful about the presence that we're creating online and what memories we're leaving online with that presence. So one very simple strategy that people have adopted that have done social media accounts, that have done what they call influencers, streamers, content creators, they specify one single account for their personal life. They add grandma to it. They add their Aunt Louise that's out in Las Vegas and they see maybe once every 8 years. They create a family-oriented account. They limit it to only that family, only their family, only the people that are important to their lives have access to that account. Then they create another social media presence that is all of the things they want to do. Like if you travel, it would be the account you use to show your travel, or different foods that you eat at different restaurants because you like to review food, or with kids nowadays, the video games or movies that they're streaming, whatever content they're sharing to connect with fellow students and other teenagers. They create a separate account for everything that interacts with the public, and they keep one account for their personal life. This does work to an extent. This is why people that make hundreds of thousands of dollars every year posting nothing but YouTube videos, this is why they do it. They can be themselves with their family, and they can provide everything that their followers are looking for. So one thing that helps is having that distinction of, I have one account where I can share things with my loved ones that I don't necessarily want the public to see, and one account where I can commune with all my friends. I can have a presence and people can hit the like button as many times as they want. Sorry, I'm fighting allergies. I'm sorry about that. But these two presences, having two different presences on social media platforms, that doesn't necessarily say that you have something to hide. It doesn't necessarily say that you're running around doing things in the shadows and trying to make up two different personalities. It's just you have compartmentalized your life into the things that are important for the people in your life and those things that you're presenting in a public face. Just like if you're going to work, some people are a different person at work than they are at home. When you're in school, kids, you're one person in school, you're learning, you're doing sports, you're a class clown, whatever you are, that's the person you are when you're in school. But when you come home, you're another person because you can be more relaxed. And that's all it's doing, is it's creating pretty much two different outlets for the things you have. There are a lot of people that just make one account. They make it public. They should start adding everybody from school. They start adding people they used to go to school with, people they went to college with, for the older crowd, for the younger crowd. They just want to have all the kids in the neighborhood and all the kids in the surrounding schools following them. They just want to see the follow count grow. So this helps control that exposure to an extent. So that you don't end up exposing things to people that don't need to see it. There are valid reasons that all these Facebook accounts, these Snappy Chats, all these Tic Tac accounts, all these services alert us that we need to go in and validate or review our privacy settings. And yes, it's just to bore you. It's just to make your life unbearable. There's all kinds of things. People are like, I don't want to go through and update my settings again. But your privacy settings will allow you to limit your exposure on these accounts. So the content that you create, the content that you share, if you're limiting it to friends, or are you limiting it to friends of friends? If you're going that extra step, like I want all my friends to see all my nice pictures from a Hawaii vacation, but when you're sharing that content, you're not scoping it down to your friends and family. You're letting friends of friends view the content. Those friends of friends can see those pictures. They can interact with those pictures. They can also save those pictures. They can save your posts. They can save the things you say. They can create a record that exists once you delete that post. We all have that one friend that still stays friends with someone that we may consider a nemesis, for lack of a better word. With that friends of friends setting, that person that's not really kosher with you is still friends with your friend. They're going to see that information. There is literally nothing that stops them from downloading your profile picture, downloading your pictures, creating a fake account, posing as you, and basically spreading all kinds of farce. They can make this fake account, they can present themselves as you, and they can start causing trouble in your life. Yes, you can report the account and you can close it. The problem that we have, though, if something were to ever happen, you have to sift through the valid accounts and the fake accounts. There's two trails you have to follow now. The fake account, children, once they say something about you or they make it look like you're saying something about somebody else, once somebody takes that action, you're never going to be able to inform every person that has seen the fake account's post that it was fake. There's always going to be some lingering air where you did something that you didn't actually do. And these events actually happen. These things happen all the time with social media platforms. So when you look at your privacy settings, when you look at your security settings, it's really not there to cause you more hardship. It's there to keep you safe, and it's there to keep information out of hands of people that would want to do you harm. So, excuse me, I need a drink. Again, I apologize for the allergies. But while you're at a social event, you can be out at a social event, you're out with your friends, you can turn the location services on almost every app off. It doesn't need a GPS to run. The app can still take pictures. The app can still post whatever you want to say about you and your friends and the current adventure you're on. If you're at your buddy Matt's pool party and you're sitting there like, oh, who cares if anybody knows I'm here? And we've all heard the stories of kids that have been stalked or abducted. And we've all heard the very horrible stories of what can happen from just letting even your geolocation data out. But there are still other malicious activities that happen. Say you're a high school student. You post a picture that you're at Matt's party. You say you're at Matt's party. You show that you're at Matt's party. You even take a picture of his house with the address there. Everybody knows you're not home. But you just played a basketball game and you defeated the crosstown rivals over the weekend. And their point guard's still a little sore about that. And he thinks that you have a nice, shiny laptop that you don't really deserve. Here to tell you it actually happens. Oh, you're not home? Well, I'm going to bop in your house and your laptop's going to come up missing. These things actually happen. People don't have to take their malicious actions to extremes. Some people just take malicious actions to disrupt your life or hurt you, and they'll use your social media profile. They'll use any information they can gather about you from your social media profile to do that if they genuinely want to hurt or cause damage. So just because you're on a vacation 1,000 miles away from home, it may not be smart to post that you're on a vacation 1,000 miles from home in a city full of people that have no idea who you are. It creates scenarios, it creates situations, and it creates opportunity for malicious things to happen. So you can share your pictures of what you're doing 90% of the time. The most important thing about what's going on is the adventure you're currently having. You can take a picture of you climbing a mountain. You could take a picture of you on a hike, but you don't have to disclose where you're doing it. You can just show yourself in the moment, enjoying it, having fun. And I guarantee you, people are still going to click the like button, and you're going to get all your little follower counts, and everything's going to be happy without you disclosing too much information about yourself in the process. And another thing we all need to do, even adults alike, before we press the post button, be mindful of the background. And no, I don't mean that, say, your classmates are going to see a bottle of Zik cream on your dresser because you didn't make sure that you were holding the phone at the right angle. That's not what we're going for here. I mean, look at the photo and see what you're exposing. Are you exposing the license plate of the car you're traveling in? There are some states where you can still, as a private citizen, run a license plate if you pay the money to the DMV. Not every state has outlawed running a license plate for a private citizen. There's all kinds of things that can show up in the background. If you're staying at a hotel, is the name of the hotel there? Is a street sign and the name of the hotel in the background? Because that limits the scope of what hotel, what Holiday Inn you're actually at down real fine if you know exactly what street and what Holiday Inn you're at. It's the content of the photo that we need to be mindful about. The background, the extra details that are in the photos. And when you're on these vacations, when you're out doing these things, there's nothing wrong with waiting until the vacation's over to post the pictures. Even the teenagers, kids, influencers, big popular people on YouTube, all people making content and driving their entire career using nothing but content on social media platforms. They go on these adventures. They eat these grand meals. They go on cruises, and they show you all the pictures and all the videos of what they've done. There's one thing they all do. They wait until they've returned home before they post the videos of their vacation. And I guarantee you, if you're on a ship in the middle of the Caribbean Sea and you post that picture when you get home versus right there when you're at the ship at that moment, you're still going to get all those likes. Everybody's still going to look at your content. It's not going to hinder you to be patient and wait. So with these simple things, with these, just keeping mindful of these things, the background of your photo, when would be an appropriate time to post this picture? Do I really want to expose where I'm at, where I'm located? Do people need to know that? Again, if we fall back to, it's the adventure. It's people seeing you out having fun and doing fun things that drives the interest. It's not the location itself. It's not the time that it happened. So there are things to be mindful of when you approach social media and what you share on it. There are worse scenarios that can happen on social media platforms. And I'll tell you one that happened to me, myself. In previous years, I worked for a company, and that company was hacked. They took all of the employee datas and all of our social information that was posted on the company's platform. They had all that information available to them for everyone who ever worked for the company. Well, some years later, I'll say about a decade just to make the story short, I received a notice in the mail from Bank of America. An account had been established in my name. It had a faked ID that proved the person was me when they actually weren't. They were claiming a previous address I used to live at, and they were having mail sent to that address under my name and forwarded to them at their current address. And they established a bank account with Bank of America, and they were transferring $3,000 every month from a China bank account into the US. And this went on for about 8 months before anybody caught it. My employer would have caught it during their yearly audit, and I would have been caught in off guard. I would not have known this account existed. I would not have known somebody had pulled my information and successfully created a fake me and opened a bank account. I would have not known, because they weren't stealing my money. They were using my name and my person to get money into the United States for them. No one would have been the wiser until Bank of America asked them to come in and physically sign documents in front of them. Well, they couldn't do it, obviously, because they weren't me. This led to Bank of America finally finding me, reaching out to me. We launched an investigation on them. We went into it. We found out everything. We were able to close the account, and we were able to clean all that off my record. But just from that handful of information they pulled from the company when they hacked it, I lost about 4 or 5 months where I had to straighten my credit up, because it honestly looked like me, Robert Humbertson, was funneling money into an American bank account from China every month. These things really do happen. So you can't always just take the standpoint that this is never going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. Oh, that's just a big horror story they're telling me to scare you. These things happen. They do happen. With the advent of artificial intelligence and quantum computing, we can generate photos of people's faces. A face can have up to 160 points of interest on it when you're doing a facial recognition. Some systems only need as little as 19. So as long as artificial intelligence can generate the face, we have 3D printer technologies. You can print casts and molds, and you can literally use a latex face, just a mask, to fool any kind of facial recognition. It's not pretty much movies and all that. It's never going to happen to me. It does happen in very small sets. These horrible things are, and I don't want to downcast them. These very extensive things happen in small groups. But like I said, I had a bank account open in my name. I never knew it. You say that you're at somebody's party for New Year's, and you have somebody who knows that you have a pretty nice laptop, and they don't want you to have that laptop anymore. The laptop comes up missing. This is a case that actually happened. These things do happen, and they do result from the information we share in our online profiles with social media, because, like I said, those have become part of our persona. And I just hope I've given you some things to think about so that you can start to think of other things before you press post buttons and before you create profiles and before you start adding everybody who tries to follow you on these platforms. You need to be aware that the presence you're creating online is you, and it will follow you. And your future employers, your future employers, rarely has it happened, but even some banks have used social data on people. Like, your social data is accessible by anyone that you have not restricted it from, and that can come back. You could have a horrible car wreck when you're 18 because you were at a party and you had one too many drinks and you got in trouble. That can come back. I've actually been in an interview where a gentleman lost a pretty decent position because it required driving and transportation, and it was found on his social media that he had this driving episode where he had the accident, and it was a reckless charge, and it was all found out through his social media. So it cost him a job that he was actually well suited for. We all just need to start being more mindful of what we share and ask ourselves before we share it, do we really need to share that? And I know that was pretty long-winded, but that's what I had to share.
Oh, really appreciate, Robert. Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there any questions? All right, it doesn't seem to. Yeah, we got great information in the chat. Thank you, Junhua. Really appreciate the information that you provided to us, Robert. Yeah, you got to really pay very close attention, and it really it's hard with our students who we don't always know what they're doing on social media and what they're posting. I do remember several years ago at Wooten, the SGA did a program around social media, and they took a student's information that she had posted and tracked her with a video camera from work and to all her locations that she was going to, and it became a great learning experience for. They had a speaker that came in and talked about the video and you know how much information can be gleaned from what kids are posting on social media, because they don't really think about it. You gave us a lot to think about in terms of what we're posting, but our kids are not always thinking about what they're posting, and sometimes they divulge information that they really shouldn't be. So that is a good reminder to us that we need to have those conversations with them. All right. Before we go, any further comments? All right. Well, thanks again, Robert, and thank you everyone for joining tonight. We hope you join next month for our alumni event. We hope to get quite a few, and we'll let you know what that format is going to look like through our newsletter. But we hope you join us, and we hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. We'll see you next month. Thank you.